Real-time review, or RTR, is a queue where stand-up wireless auditors assess orders submitted by our field agents via the enrollment compliance platform called CGM. Only orders from California, Texas, Washington, and New York will be required to be audited by the real-time review auditors. Once reviewed and approved by real-time review, the orders will be ready to go through the national verifier for approval. Now, all other states' orders will go directly to the national verifier. Once orders are being reviewed by the national verifier for approval, we would have to contact national verifier for order statuses or order information. Now, let's talk about what happens when an order is submitted for those states mentioned. When an order is submitted, it enters a real-time review queue. An auditor will pick up the order and will begin to review it. You, as the agent, will see the order status as pending audit. The auditor will be reviewing the order to verify accuracy and validity of the following: agent selfie, demographic information, any documentation provided, signatures, and of course, making sure the order number is in all images. If everything is correct, we'll approve the order. If errors were found, corrections will be needed. Now, if corrections are needed, the status of the order will change to need info, and you will need to click on retake data. Auditors will leave a detailed note explaining what needs to be corrected. And once those corrections are made, the auditor will review those corrections and again will either approve or deny the order. Now, this can cause possible order delays. On your screen, you will see the types of possible errors an order can have causing delays. Auditors will either soft deny the order or hard deny the order, depending on the type of error found. Soft denials will allow you 3 attempts to correct the errors, while hard denials will cause the order to be canceled, and a new order will need to be started. Now, some reasons for soft denials can be blurry images, missing order numbers, expired or unacceptable IDs, any information mismatch, incorrect or misspelled, or even signature errors. Well, some hard denial reasons can be things like not making the appropriate corrections, choosing the wrong program type, any duplicate applications that are found, or if the applicant is outside the federally recognized tribal lands for tribal orders. Excuse me. As mentioned, detailed correction messages will be provided to you, so please be sure to read those thoroughly and correct what needs to be corrected. I'll go over some order requirements and best practices to follow. This will help minimize order review delays, which in return will increase your overall order submissions. Now, before you're ready to begin any order, not just those that go through the real-time review queue, you will need to make sure you have the following. That includes a customer's full name, the customer's date of birth, the customer's last 4 of Social Security number, the customer's valid email address, customer's proof of identification, address, and eligibility. And you also need to make sure that you have location services enabled. If you initiate an order and do not have location services enabled, you will not be able to proceed with that order. Let's begin with our agent signatures best practices. Now, the system will require an agent signature in order to proceed past the first step. There are several ways for your agent signature to be accepted. You can write your full first and last name, as long as it is legible and spelled correctly. Initials are also acceptable as long as they match your first name initial and your last name initial. Now, if you attempt an actual signature, it must clearly show the first initial of the first and last name. Stand-up wireless auditors will not accept signatures where names are misspelled, initials do not match, or you attempted to sign with lines, dots, or X's. Agent signatures can easily be avoided. I have listed some of the most common denial reasons, which you will see on your screen. Now, keep in mind, if the signature is not acceptable, the auditor will soft deny the order and provide a note with a reason for the denial. The agent will have the opportunity to rewrite the signature and resubmit the order. Let's move on to image capture requirements. Now, you will be required to submit an image of the following based on the customer's state requirements. So for California and Texas, we do require customers' proof of eligibility. California, Texas, and New York, proof of identification is required. And lastly, for California, Texas, New York, and Washington, proof of address is required. It is very important that all images submitted are clear, legible, and include the CGM order number. Okay, moving on to agent selfie. On the agent selfie tab, agents are required to capture a selfie at random when submitting an order, usually once per 10 orders taken. The requirements for agent selfie images are as follows. So the image must include a full face, front view, natural expression, and opened eyes. Uploading images from your device gallery or photos folders will not be allowed. You will want to avoid shadows on your face or on your background. And finally, do not wear sunglasses or hats or anything that obstructs your face. The auditors will compare the selfie image to the previous images submitted to verify it is not a screenshot or a gallery image. Now, if the image is not acceptable, the auditor will soft deny the order and provide a note with a reason for that denial, which you will have the opportunity to retake that image. Please note that if it is determined that the person in the image is not the agent listed on the order will be hard denied. And on your screen, you can see some of the most common denial reasons for selfie images. Okay, so moving on to identification and image capture. Agents in California, Texas, and New York will be required to upload customers' identification proof. Keep in mind, they must be government-issued IDs and have a photo present. Listed on your screen are acceptable proof of identification that are accepted across the board, such as a U.S. driver's license or identification cards, passports, or even temporary IDs, as long as they include a photo, first and last name, and date of birth. Now, we do not accept prison IDs, employee IDs, or student IDs. Name placement is very important because you want to make sure all of the information entered in CGM matches exactly to the proof that you are submitting. It is very important to pay attention to the name line identifiers on the ID to ensure that you are entering the names in the correct place. Keep in mind there are some names that may sound like a last name and vice versa, so it's important to check the ID identifiers. Now, in CGM, you will have the option to separate the first name, middle name, first and last name, and second last name, but you can also enter the information as it is shown on the ID. Making sure the first name line in the ID is input correctly in the first name line in CGM, and same for the last name. There are some exceptions to the name placement for the states of California and New York. Stand-Up Wireless will be accepting names as entered on a secondary proof of ID. This means that the auditors will allow you to enter the customer's name in CGM as it appears on their proof of eligibility versus their proof of identification. However, if you do this, you will have to capture an image of both the proof of eligibility along with the proof of identification and submit them on the proof of identification section of the order. Our auditors will be checking that the name entered in CGM matches the name shown either on the proof of identification or the proof of eligibility. Another note, there are some eligibility cards that have character limitations, which means that the names might get grouped together or cut off. In this case, the auditors will need to determine if the ID and secondary proof of ID are the same person based on all factors submitted. Now, this may come back as a denial if the auditors cannot determine if both IDs submitted are the same person. Now, in order for the ID proof to be accepted, you must make sure of the following. The ID must include the customer's first and last name, a photo, the customer's date of birth, or the last four digits of the Social Security number. It must also include the expiration date and issue date. Make sure that all names shown on the ID must be included in the order and match exactly. All IDs must be current or have an expiration date less than a year old. And keep in mind, we do not accept voided IDs, photocopies, or screenshots. Now, another piece of demographic information you will want to ensure accuracy of is the date of birth. Even though date of birth proof is not required, any information entered in CGM must match exactly to the proof submitted. Please be sure to enter in the date of birth as it is shown, and do not confuse the month and the day, as some acceptable ID proofs may use a different date of birth format. For example, normally we do the month, day, and year, but some IDs may have the day, month, and year. Now, additionally, if the customer submits a Social Security card, you must also make sure that the last 4 digits of the Social Security number match the Social Security number on the order submitted. In the next slides, I will go over additional IDs, exceptions for the states of California and New York. Aside from the acceptable forms of ID mentioned in the previous slides, California does have some additional acceptable proof of ID. So the IDs that I will go over are starting from left to right, which are the Employment Authorization Card, the Mexican Consular Card, the Northern Mariana Islands driver's license, a foreign passport, and also the Common Access Card, which you must include the front and back of the image or the identification. So let's talk about eligibility and image capture. This section tends to be the most common reason why the orders get denied. Now, proof of eligibility is only required in California and Texas. General eligibility requirements are as follows. All images submitted must be clear and legible, must include the order number. The program selected must match the eligibility proof submitted. If an award letter or benefit statement is submitted, it must be dated within 12 months from the Lifeline application date. Must include the front and back of the benefit cards, and the customer's name on the eligibility proof must match the name on the order. In the case in which the name does not match exactly due to a marriage, divorce, or name change, proof of name change must be submitted along with the eligibility documentation, for example, a marriage license certificate or a divorce degree. In the next slides, I will go over what eligibility requirements are for each of the states mentioned. Here are some of the programs acceptable for California, which include CalFresh or food stamps or SNAP, Federal Public Housing or Section 8, Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, Medi-Cal, National School Lunch Program. We also accept Supplemental Security Income, temporary assistance for the needy families, and other programs such as CalWorks, StanWorks, Welfare to Work, and GAIN. Veterans or Survivors Pension is also accepted, WIC program, and you can also qualify through income. I will go into depth on the most common programs and the eligibility proof requirements for each of the programs. Starting with Golden State Advantage Card. The requirements are, for the Golden State Advantage Card, the front and back must be submitted. The customer's first name and either the first or second last name must be present. The card must be accompanied by a grocery receipt dated no more than 7 days from the Lifeline application and must display the last 4 digits of the card. And of course, the information on the receipt must match the card that is being submitted. And that's in regards to the last 4 digits of the card. We also accept other forms of SNAP documents, such as a notice of approval letters or action letters, as long as they are dated within 30 calendar days of the application and are specific that the benefit is CalFresh, as well as the CalFresh award letter or transitional letter with an effective date within 12 months of the application. Of course, any eligibility proof submitted needs to have the customer's first and last name, and the CGM number must be present in all images submitted. Okay, so we also do accept proof from the See for Yourself portal. This option will be the only screenshot that we will allow for eligibility proof. Any other document, keep in mind, must be the original copy. The requirements for the See for Yourself portal are as follows. The customer's first and last name must be present. The name of the program, for example, CalFresh, must be visible. Program status field must say active. There must be a monetary amount listed in the food stamp allotment field and a certification date within 6 months of the Lifeline application. You can see an example of the portal in your screen. Now we have made it to some of the denials in regards to CalFresh, as you can see on your screen. The most common one would be the name mismatch, and also the receipt being blurry, or it is not within the 7 calendar days, or even the last four of the card not being visible. So please keep that in mind. Now moving on to Medi-Cal. Benefit identification cards, also known as BIC, are the only acceptable proof for Medi-Cal participation. The front and back of the card must be submitted, and the customer's first and last name must be present. Along with those requirements, the back of the card must be signed. And here again, we see some of the denials for the Medi-Cal or the BIC card. Again, make sure that the image submitted is not blurry, is fully legible, and it includes the order number. Now, WIC is not as common compared to SNAP or Medi-Cal, but it is definitely acceptable as long as the following requirements are met. The California WIC app screenshots are acceptable, but must include the customer's name, date within 1 year of the Lifeline application, and the name of the issuing agency. The new WIC cards don't have a name, so a grocery receipt must be included. The last 4 digits of the WIC card displayed by the receipt must match the last 4 digits on the actual WIC card. Moving on to Federal Public Housing Assistance or Section 8. Eligibility proof must include the customer's name, name of the program, must be a legit document issued and dated within 12 months of the application, and show visible proof that the customer or the household is an active participant in the program. TANF is also accepted. Any document submitted must state one of the following programs: temporary assistance for needy families, California work opportunity or responsibility to kids, the Stanislaus County work opportunity and responsibility to kids, welfare to work, or greater avenues for independence. Approval letters must be issued or have an effective date within 12 months of the Lifeline application and must have the customer's first and last name present. Another acceptable program is the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program. Acceptable proof and requirements are an energy bill displaying the program discount or an award letter issued within 12 months of the Lifeline application. And of course, it must display the customer's first and last name on the information submitted. Moving on to SSI or Supplemental Security Income. The SSI award letter is acceptable, or any official Social Security Administration letter stating the current SSI benefit. Must be issued or have an effective date within 12 months of the Lifeline application, and of course, the customer's full name. There is often confusion between SSI and SSA benefits, so please ensure you are submitting the correct document. For veterans or survivors pension, the documents listed on your screen are acceptable. Making sure that award letters must have a benefit issue or effective date within 12 months of the Lifeline application and include the customer's first and last name. Now with income, the customer's annual income must meet or be under 150% of the federal poverty guidelines in order to qualify. When the income option is chosen, CGM will ask for the household size and the total annual income. It will provide the income threshold and inform if the annual income exceeds the 150% of the federal poverty guidelines. Now you can also visit Lifeline website under California Lifeline eligibility to view the annual income limits. Now the following are acceptable proof of eligibility documents that can be submitted for the qualification through income, which includes an income tax, a 1040, or W-2s, making sure that they are from the previous year only and reference to the income tax. Pay stubs must be 3 consecutive months within the last 12-month period from the Lifeline application date. For example, if I get paid weekly, I will need 12 pay stubs. If I get paid bi-weekly, I will need 6 pay stubs. And if I get paid monthly, I will need 3 pay stubs. We also accept Social Security or any VA statements, retirement or pension benefits, unemployment or workers' compensation, and or divorce decree or child support. And lastly, for California, we do accept the National School Lunch Program. A letter of participation or statement of benefits must include the name of the customer, and the name of the program must be listed on the documentation submitted, issued within 12 months of the Lifeline application, and demonstrate that you or your household is an active participant in that program. Now, here are some common order denial reasons for the rest of the programs we just went over, with the most common, of course, being the name provided not matching the eligibility proof submitted. And again, if the image is not acceptable due to it being blurry, not legible, or if the information is incorrect, a mismatch, or missing, the auditor will soft deny the order and provide a note with the reason for that denial. Right, so let's recap for California eligibility. We need to make sure all documents submitted have the customer's full name and it matches with the information entered in the order. We need to make sure the eligibility proof submitted is correspondent to the eligibility program that was selected. We want to keep an eye on the effective and expiration dates of the documents submitted. Remember, award letters within 12 months of the Lifeline application. If it's a card, include the back and the front of the card. Make sure the back of the card is signed. Only submit images of the original eligibility proof. Screenshots are only allowed if it's the WIC benefit portal and the See for Yourself portal. The Golden State Advantage card must include a receipt, which must show the last 4 numbers of the card and date it within 7 days of the Lifeline application. Keep in mind all images must be clear, legible, and include the CGM order number. Once again, here we see the most common Texas denials for Medicaid. So please be sure to review any documentation submitted, making sure they are dated within the allotted timeframe, they're clear and legible, and that you include the CGM order number. Moving on to address and image capture. Proof of address is required in California, Texas, New York, and Washington. Address documents that can be used as proof are as follows. A driver's license, a utility bill, or even a government assistance program document will be accepted. You can see the remaining of the documents that are acceptable on your screen. All documents must include the customer's full name, must be clear and legible, include the CGM order number, and the address must match the address entered in the Lifeline application. For Texas, if an award letter is provided, the proof of address listed on the benefit award letter must match the address entered on the enrollment or the Lifeline application. Now, here are some address denials. They can be due to name mismatch, incorrect proof submitted, or even unclear images. So please be sure to review any documentation submitted and ensure that the order number is always visible. Now we have reached the end of the webinar, but before we end for today, I want to share our contact information and hours of operation. You will see them listed on your screen, so feel free to take a screenshot if you need to.